Welcome back. All right, in the last video, we created a light, an interactive light in the level, and we turned parts of it anyway. We lost parts of it, which is unfortunate, but we turned parts of it into a blueprint, which is an actor blueprint that we have here. So just let's have a look. Again, we can drag this if you prefer to have full screen. I tend to prefer to have full screen. So let's have a look at what we've got here. We have this part which looks pretty similar to what we've seen in the main editor. So we just have like a 3D perspective view, perspective view editor here. And that's pretty much it. So we can select different things. We can select the light, we can select the static mesh, and you'll see on the left-hand side, we have those objects in here as well. So we've got the interactive light, we've got a root node here, and then we have our different objects that go in there as well. Underneath that, you'll see we've got some graphs. The graphs are these things, which we're going to look at in just a sec. We have functions, so we can create functions if you've done any scripting or programming with other languages. You'll be familiar with functions. We can do the same thing here. We have some macros which we're not going to cover here. Similar kind of to functions, but different as well. We also have variables, and at the moment we have variables which relate to our components. So you see we've got a root component, we've got our point light component, and our static mesh component, which are relevant to each of these. And it's important for us to be able to get access to those. And you'll see we've also got something called an event dispatcher, which allows us to create our own events if we need to in our blueprint. So, excuse me. So the graphs, okay, we've got our event graph, which is this one here. That's our main one. We also have a function, which is our construction script. Again, if you've done any programming, you may be familiar with the construction script. The construction script is what is run when it's constructed. Now, I'm going to come back to this because this is an interesting situation in blueprints, which may be a little bit different to what you would expect if you're familiar with programming. So I'm just going to say that for now. I'm going to leave that there. I don't want to go into that in detail. But suffice it to say, this is what is used to construct things. We'll use it in a second, but I'll show you in more detail later on. And then we have our graph, our event graph. So this is where we have, this may be familiar. So if we go to our level blueprint, same idea. So this is where we can create our visual scripting, which is a little bit different here. And you can create more than one graph here if you've got a lot of script. Now you'll see we have a few different nodes here already. The red nodes are what we call event nodes. These are events from, well, these particular events are engine events. So begin play is an event that's called when the engine starts off. Event tick is another event that happens, we say every tick, which is really every time a frame is compiled, we get that. We're not going to use these for now. Actor event begin overlap. I've never seen this work. I don't know why it's here. My advice, just delete that one immediately because we're not going to use it and it doesn't work. Nor are we going to use event tick. You're rarely going to use event tick unless you have a special requirement. And I recommend, particularly if you're not used to programming, don't use event tick because you can really slow down your game. So we're going to delete that one as well. And we're going to have event play here. All well and good. So cool. Now I just want to show you before we carry on. So we've got compile here, compile that up. Now we have no code, so it doesn't really matter. I'm going to save that. We did start off with these objects in here. Before we start sort of putting in some code and stuff, I want to just show you how we would create this from scratch. So let's go Control Shift, and we're in our content, my content, blueprints folder. The other option here, if we go and create this from scratch, we can right click in this area. We can go blueprint class, and then we're going to select actor. Now, just think of an actor as an actor in a play, and the actors are anything that we can place in our level, in our world, in our game world. Okay. So if I select actor, that's great. New blueprint. I'm going to call this BP underscore. What happened there? Oh, damn you. BP underscore interactive light. See, it tells me I've got the same name twice. 02. Okay, so this is going to be the second one. Now, if I double click on this, open it up. Cool. So you can see at the moment we don't have anything in here. The other one, let's move the tutorial back here and maybe close our project settings so we can clean this up a bit. So we want to put these in here as well. Come into here. First thing I want, let's just go down to, we're in props. Our wall lamp. Now we can just throw that in here. And that's where it is there. You can see that the location is at 0, 0, 0. Now that's relative to our root. That's what we want. We want it to be 0, 0, 0. Rotation 0, 0, 0, scale 0, 0. So all that's important initially. If I go and move it, you'll see that's actually changing. When I place it in the world, that'll be offset as well. So I'm going to just reset that to its default. And I'm also going to add, hang on, what have we got? Oh, yeah, okay. Let's do this. Let's add a point light. Now you can see something happened there. A little bit different to what happened previously. So you can see how the point light is actually sitting underneath the light component. So that means it's actually part of, it's a child of my wall lamp. Now that probably works, to be honest, in here. It means if I move this, it moves the light as well. That's different to in here. If we wanted to make that the same, we can just grab that and then drag it onto there. We've done the same thing. Or we can drag it onto the root to put it back, attach that like so. Don't do create new root with that one. So I'm going to leave it there because that kind of works. I don't really have a problem with that at the moment. Okay, so we've got this basically the same setup. Pretty happy with the way this is. Oh, in fact though, with the light, remember we want to offset the light a bit. So let's offset that by, we want it to be up here. Actually, what is it in our other one? We should be able to tell point light. -3, so we can make that identical by just copying. What I have to do is actually put that on the root. Attach. Let's just reset that to 0. And then we can paste in the value from my other one. And that's put it the same. So those are actually the same now. And I have a feeling we moved that, didn't we? No, we didn't. Okay. That should be fine. I think that should be fine. Point light. Hang on. Something's not right. Have a look at that and see if we can tell what's not right. We've turned our mesh 180 degrees. That's the difference. Okay. So this actually should be, I think, 3. Yeah, so it should be the other side. I think, and in fact, I'm going to move that up a bit. It's not looking right. Yeah, okay. All right, so I tried to do that. It didn't quite work, but I think that's going to work there now. And we'll give it a color. Let's go green this time. Cool. All right, so how do we recreate this? Well, we're going to need a trigger volume. So we should be able to find some sort of trigger in here. Let's go and have a look. We've got lots of different things we can add. These are all components. So these are components that you can put within an actor. Lots of things. Let's go trigger to see what we've got. No. Let's try box. Box collision. Okay. There are some differences in naming convention. This is basically the same thing, but it's called a box collision. Let's select that, and I don't want it to be a child of the light, so let's just drag it back, attach. These are all now separate, and we want this to be I think we want to, let's hit the R key, let's make it a little bit larger, and that's probably going to work. I think this is going to be off the ground a bit. Maybe in fact we want that to kind of be more like that. Okay, looking good. So compile and save. Now we can do similar things. This is going to work in a similar way to the other one. So let's just go into our event graph. And again, we're not going to need our begin overlap or our event tick. We can delete those. We've got our event begin play. We want the box. So we're going to reference to the box. This is now part of our actor blueprint. So if we can come to here. If I drag and drop, it just gives me a reference to the box, and then we want an event. Where are we going to find that? We can go through and look at these event dispatches. Nope. Or we can go overlap. Collision. We're looking for an event begin. We want an event. Should be the same as the previous one. Where has it gone? I don't think, no, it's none of those. Utilities. Should it be, is it actor? Tick, no. Let's try event. Create event. I don't want to get too complicated. We could create our own event, but we shouldn't need to. Generate overlap events. Box collision. Let me pause here a second. I'll find the solution and I'll come back.